Welcome to Cars on Call. I'm automotive journalist Steve Schutz, and here with trauma surgeon Stephan Moran. This is Cars on Call, and we got a lot to talk about, which we'll get to. But Adams is gone. A couple business things to talk about. We are going to bi-weekly. We're not going to do it every week anymore. I think our listeners will be okay with that. And three people busy. Stephan, you're busy. I'm busy. Let's do it every 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks if it works out. Absolutely. We'll keep it going. We haven't seen our listenership explode like we'd hoped to. We're doing this because we have fun and we're going to keep doing it, but we're just not going to bust our ass and change our schedules if we've got something better to do, but we're going to keep doing this, but just not on a routine weekly basis. But if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when there's a new podcast. So, and depending which service you use, if you have automatic download, when we have a new episode, it'll automatically come to your box. And so you won't have to search for it.
Yeah, we will try to do it every 2 weeks, and we'll see how long that can last. But I think we'll be able to do it. Weekly was really difficult, and we do appreciate that we do have actually a good number of listeners actually. So we're doing okay there. But it's been over 2 years, and every 2 weeks I think is still pretty often.
Good enough for me. Especially with all our travels. We've got a lot of travels to talk about today. Both of us Steve and I have been in Europe for the last 2 weeks. Got home, we're both jet lagged. Steve was super jet lagged. He got in last night. I got in last Wednesday, and I still woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. Hit the ground running. But so we got a lot of car stuff. We got a lot of European car stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to kind of wing it. Before we get into that, I'm going to just say, and I did something called Autobahn Adventures, where you drive on the Autobahn in a new 911 and go to.
So tell listeners a little bit about it. It's Porsche. It's a Porsche. It is a Porsche sponsored, organized trip, right?
It's not. It's Porsche supported, not sponsored. Okay. I'll get into the details in a second. This is something we've been talking about for 2 years, Stephan, but over the last 6 months, it has become more and more real. And that is the BEV inevitable change, where we were going to go from cars that were purely internal combustion to cars that were purely battery electric. That appears to have not only stalled, but it seems like the whole world just decided, okay, crap, this didn't work, and we're going to have to go to hybrids. And we are not going all battery electric for a long time. And before you weigh in, Stephan, everyone talks about Tesla shares are down. I think they're down 60% from their highs. Polestar Polestar is a division of Volvo that's pure battery electric. The only one among us that's actually driven a Polestar. You've driven one. Polestar shares are down 95%. That's bad.
Well, hey, just jumping on the tulip craze is over bandwagon here. So Ford reported the first quarter, and their losses soared to $1.3 billion. And they're blaming it on Model E, their electric car division. And that losses is $132,000 for each of the 10,000 vehicles it sold in 3 months of the year. Think about that.
It's shocking. I mean,
yeah, they lost on their, if you look at just the spreadsheet, top number, bottom number, they lost $132,000 per vehicle.
Think about incredible. That's the Lightning, the Ford F-150 Lightning. It's the Mustang Mach-E, and it's the whatever. They got all kinds of. I mean, those are the two main ones.
They're down 20%. Their sales are down 20%, and revenue down 84%, all based on their EVs.
I've been saying this for years. I'll say it again. The dogs are not eating the dog food. And let's face it, here's the reality. You can get in your car and you can drive someplace and you can stop anywhere along the way, ideally a Buc-ee's, and it takes you 3 minutes to fuel up and you can go another 450 miles versus, oh my gosh, where's the charger? Is it available? And if it is available, you spend an hour and you get another 250 miles. So,
as I've said over and all, EVs are a luxury handbag for a woman and a luxury watch for a man. I've said that over and over. And Toyota got it right. They did not drink the water. They didn't go to the dog food, as you would say. And Toyota did it right. They focused on hybrids. Now everybody else is backtracking, trying to increase their hybrids.
Yeah.
So
All these promised switchovers, X manufacturer is going to be all electric by 2030 or 2035.
ain't
Those
happening.
It's not happening. Every single manufacturer that said that is backed off, and things are changing rapidly. So, anyway, Autobahn Adventures, Stefan. This is Porsche supported. We have brand new, not brand new, and they probably had. I think each car. These are brand new 911s. Each car had maybe 1,500 kilometers on them.
Wow.
They were all Carrera S's, and they were a mixture of convertible and coupe. And you showed up, and you get your car, and we drove the first day. I mean, we stayed in Wiesbaden, Germany, to get over our jet lag, and we drove. There's a picture of the Chedi Hotel in Switzerland. Unbelievably beautiful, incredible hotel. And there's the lineup of the 16 992s.
Looks
that
like a
we
Crayola
brought.
box.
Yeah, they were different colors: shark blue, guards red, carmine red, which was mine. You see the carmine red picture there, third from the left. That's mine. It was aventurine green, yellow, gentian blue, chalk, and a couple of grays mixed in. So anyway, it was a 2 week thing at Autobahn Adventures, and they promised you drive on the Autobahn. They promised you visit different countries, driving your 992, and then they promised you'd end by going to the Monaco Grand Prix. We did all of that. There was even a little bit of time on a cruise ship where we stopped in Saint-Tropez. But here's a couple things that surprised me. This is an expensive trip. I looked at it as a trip of a lifetime. We're invited by Brett and Marianne Williams. Brett is a retired fighter pilot. He's been F-15 pilot. He's been on this show before, and we did it with them. 16 couples, really interesting people, as you'd expect. And I'm just going to touch on the highlights. And there was one thing that happened to me. I got a call sign. We'll talk about it at the very end. But here's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect to be given the keys to this car, and they say, all right, leave at around 9 from Wiesbaden, go to the Porsche Museum, and then you're going to drive down to Austria to a really nice hotel. So you're driving all day in this 992. We're not in a caravan. There's no one ahead saying, this is not lead follow like at a course, like a driving course at a track. They said, just go. So I'm in this car. First time I've been in, I have my own 992, but this is the first time in this particular car on the Autobahn. And all of a sudden I'm going like, crap, I'm going 265 kilometers per hour, which is over 160 miles an hour.
Well, that's a haul and a half, Bubba. You better hold on. I've never been that fast. I think my top speed is like 123. I've never been 167 miles an hour. Not even on I haven't been to a track that has it long enough straightaway for that. But that's really moving.
Well, I beg to differ. I was in the passenger seat of my M3 in Sun Valley, Idaho, when you went 140.
Well, I forgot about that. Oh well.
You did a great job. But yeah, this is, the car is so good. You can take, and it's not just the 911. You can take a Porsche Cayenne and go almost that fast. Most of these high-end German cars are limited electronically to 155 miles an hour. I think that's 250 kilometers per hour. I think I have to do the math. But these were not, and many cars, believe me, I was not the fastest car out there. There was an M5 that was absolutely flying. And then you see there's other Mercedes, a lot of Mercedes, even Opels and Audis going very, very, very fast. Stefan, you've driven on the Autobahn, or at least the Autostrada.
Yeah, I've been on the Autobahn.
The auto route. Yeah.
And I didn't have of course, my wife was just like beating on me, was not allowing me to go as fast as I wanted to go. But we weren't in a car that powerful. But what amazed me was the absolute close. I'd see a car coming in the left-hand lane. I'm trying to pass another car or truck. And you don't realize, you're doing 60 miles an hour, but that car is doing 140, 180, up those high speeds. I mean, you're going to have closing differentials that's anywhere from 40 to 80 miles an hour, easy. And you don't realize how fast they're coming up behind you. And you better get the hell out of the way quick, but because they're flashing their lights, they got their blinkers on, and that they don't appreciate it. But that was the hardest thing for me was appreciating the closing rates of those cars in the left-hand lane. And fortunately, most of the places that were unlimited were 3-lane, so it wasn't a real issue. But you're right, that's impressive. I wonder what Porsche is going to do because the EU is mandating automatic speed limiters coming up on their vehicles. So if by GPS it says 50K, if you 50 kilometers an hour, you go more than 50 kilometers an hour, the nanny lights start flashing at you, and you have to manually turn it off every single time. So it'd be interesting to see how Porsche handles that.
I think this era is coming to an end. Switzerland, in particular, Austria and Switzerland were really tough. Germany is pretty easygoing. Austria and Switzerland have speed cameras everywhere. You just go the speed limit. That's it. You don't mess around.
Right.
Nobody messes around. Nobody speeds. And I think that's the way the EU is going. Germany will hold on to their limitless speed autobahns. And for the record, if you've never been there, and Stefan, bring up the pictures of the trip because that's just one picture. I have a whole picture,
Right.
a list of pictures that I'll go through. But here's the reality: people think there's two perspectives on the autobahn. One is everyone gets there and they're like, "Oh, there's no speed limits anywhere in the autobahn." There are speed limits almost everywhere in the Autobahn, 120 kilometers per hour, 130. It depends on traffic and that kind of thing. But the flip side is there's a surprising amount of areas in the Autobahn which is unlimited. And we went really fast a lot in Germany. And it was so much fun to do it in a capable car where you're kind of the king of the road. Everyone moves out of the way for a 911, just like they do for an S-Class Mercedes or a BMW 5 Series or something. People really do get out of the way. I only had one time where, they're really good about staying in their lane. A truck almost turned out and realized, holy crap, this 911 is bearing down on me. I was going at least 60 miles an hour faster than him, maybe 80. And all of a sudden you can tell he's like, whoop. And he went, he came out like 6 inches, maybe a foot into my lane, and then he quickly went back in, and I blew by him like he was standing still. What an experience. And if you scroll down, there's Elise and me picking up, we drove that Carmine red car, shark blue convertible in the background. Porsche Museum, just a couple pictures here, an old 356. Beautiful. Scroll down, just a 904. Porsche Museum, if you like Porsches, you need to go. Stefan, you've been to the Mercedes Museum, is a 935.
I went to the Porsche Museum when I was there as well.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
It is. Yep, it's a short visit. It's just 2 floors, but some incredible cars that are in there. And I enjoyed it a lot. There we go.
And there's us going through a tunnel. It's E.T., who's the Brett Williams, the F-15 pilot in front of me. He and his wife, Marianne. Scroll down. We kind of caravan with them a lot of the time. Beautiful Austrian. That's actually German. Countryside. Keep scrolling. And okay, that's it. And then I don't want to go too much into that, but we then, and I have to say, I really appreciate Autobahn Adventures. They advertise all over. It is a wonderful company, and they really, really let you go. It's run by a couple named Mark and Tina, and it's just, they really do a good job. Luxury hotels, great meals, everything's taken care of. Transportation from the airport to the hotel. Anytime you need transportation, it's taken care of. The meals are all together. I met some very, very nice people. As you might imagine, if you can afford this kind of trip, you're probably a pretty interesting person. The couples you met were just, without any exception, very interesting, engaging people who were a lot of fun to hang out with. So then we flew from Frankfurt down to Barcelona. We were on a ship going to the Monaco Grand Prix. It took a few days. We stopped in Saint-Tropez. You ever been to Saint-Tropez, Stefan?
What cruise line were you on?
Azamara. That's it. Yeah. It was okay. The rooms were nice. The meals were fantastic. Food was great. The company was great. The people, I mean, that we were traveling with were great. I thought the cruise line was average.
Really, we just got off Azamara. We liked it a lot. 200. You were on the one like 600 passengers.
Yeah, it was big.
Yeah, we were on a 600 passenger Azamara. We thought it was a fantastic cruise. We thought the service was great. Food was good. The stops were fantastic. We liked it a lot. We would definitely cruise Azamara again.
Yeah, I can't say I'm not complaining. But if you compare it to like Region or something, it's not quite
Well, yes, it's
that
the whole.
level.
That's the whole. I mean, that's like comparing a Chevy to a Cadillac. Okay, I mean, Region is up there. Then
Yeah.
you've got Seaborn and Crystal, and those are like the Mercedes Benz. But no, Region is a step above Azamara, without a doubt.
So before we get into the Monaco Grand Prix, talk about your experience over
Wait,
there.
wait a minute. What about the gift that keeps on giving, dude? You got to
Oh
tell
yeah,
the
I forgot about
story.
that.
Yeah, how can
It's
you forget
twice.
this story?
All right. This is a great story. Cars on Call is famous for lingering to the point of obsession over the sinking of the transport ship called the Felicity Ace. This would have
The
been,
stripper ship.
yeah, the transport ship named after a stripper, and this would have been, I think, February or March of 2021. And to recap, famously, this car transport ship going from Germany to America had hundreds of Porsches, Bentleys, the last 38 Lamborghini
Lambos.
Aventadors,
Yeah.
uh, whole Audis. I mean, wonderful cars on there. And very famously, there's a podcaster who's uh, Boxster Spider that was in Frozen Berry, which is a color I really can't
Oh,
stand. That went down. But yeah, thanks for reminding me, Stefan. So I met a guy from Dallas. His name is Dana, and his wife has a 992. She bought it last year. Very interesting couple. As you know, any woman who drives a 911, I'm in favor of. But he told me a story about a friend of his who his wife also wanted a 911 back in 2021. So she ordered it in 2020, and he said, "Okay, baby, you want to get a 911? That's fine." And this is not like a second wife, 20-year-old blonde or something. This is a quote unquote normal woman, and she wants a 911. And she insisted on making it purple on purple. So she got this Viola metallic. That's not the car, but that's what it looks like. And not only that, but she insisted on getting a special Porsche Special Wishes interior in
oh my
purple
gosh.
leather. So it was purple on purple. And the
A
husband said, no,
Barney car.
yeah, it's a Barney car. Husband said, don't do it. The sales manager said, hey, he had a special meeting with him and said, listen, you're not going to be able to resell this car. And the wife said, I don't care. It's what I want. And everyone is like, oh, crap. So she bought it, she ordered it, and everyone's just shaking their head like, oh my gosh. And wouldn't you know it, Stefan, the ship was on the Felicity Ace
The
and it
car
went
was on the
down.
Felicity Ace and went down.
and,
Oh my!
he,
Did
and
the
the
world
sales,
justice. Karma was karma. That's real karma there.
yeah, the sales manager gleefully called the husband. And the husband, they were both ecstatic. And he went back to his wife and said, hey, maybe get a different color. By this time, the fever had the fever had passed and she got something more normal.
Didn't the dealer say he was not going to put it in the showroom? That yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, he said, I'll deliver the car to you, but I don't want it in my showroom. And I have to do the delivery, but there's no way it's going to be anywhere that's visible until until you come to pick it up.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a great story. So,
The gift that
um,
keeps on giving, the Felicity Ace, man.
listen, Ace, baby. So, talk about your experience over there because you did some car spotting. You sent me some pictures.
I did. So let me see. We flew from Birmingham to Rome, and we looked at business class tickets, and we like to go over business class, come home, coach, so we get a sleepover. So Delta was 10 grand, well, about 8 grand. United was like 6 grand, and then American Airlines was like 3 grand. And I have had two previous bad experiences on American. So what could possibly go wrong on American again?
Oh no.
So the weather came into Dallas. They had a ground hole in Dallas. And this is what's really irritating. The American Airlines app is not worth a shit. It doesn't keep up with it's the worst app out there. And it kept saying we were on time. And the plane is still sitting on the ground. So that ground hold pilot comes out and says, we'll probably be leaving in about 3 hours. So
Oh.
I go to the gate agent, and she says, ground hold means weather. That means incoming, departing, and arriving flights are all delayed. I'm like, okay, but then the app tells me to change my ticket, even though it says I'm leaving on time. Call the 1-800 number. No, no, you'll be fine. It's a ground hold. We get to Dallas, our plane's gone. It took off. There were no other flights to Rome. And the app is now telling us,
No.
yeah, yeah.
So you're
And
flying from Birmingham there,
Birmingham to Dallas to Rome.
right? So the
Yep,
Birmingham flight was delayed.
delayed. Yep, because of the ground hold of weather in Dallas, not weather in Birmingham. And then, so, you know, we arrived there on a Wednesday night, and the app is telling us we're leaving Saturday. They've rebooked us for Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah.
give me a break.
So we go out to the gate. We leave the terminal. Oh, if you get stuck in an airport like that with the weather and stuff, leave the terminal, go out to the check-in lines. There's more agents out there to help you then, and you'll never get through the 1-800 numbers. We found a guy, so he put us on a flight through London into Rome. Our flight leaving Dallas to London was 3 hours late. We missed a total of 3 flights to Rome. We got on the very last flight to Rome, arrived at 10:30, got to our hotel at 1 in the morning. But here's the real kicker: is there were no seats left, so we had to go economy. The plane was completely packed. They don't automatically refund you. This is probably the same with all the airlines. They don't automatically refund you if you get downgraded from business to coach. You
Right.
have to request it.
Yeah.
And which that's highly irritating. So I've sent a long letter to American saying, I want my money back. Where's my money, bitch? As
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's skit, the landlord said. So that when we
So
got
irritating.
there, it's absolutely irritating. But we got in there, we did a cruise from Rome to the Italian coast, Amalfi and Sorrento and Ravello, and I really enjoyed it. And we ended up in France, in Nice, and then we stayed on an extra 4 days in Nice. And I did some great car spotting. And then I'm going to share this screen. This is probably the favorite car I saw the whole trip. Um, this is an A10 that passed us on the auto route flying, and he's got the Bobaloo route, the French colors, which is white with the
We have
blue and red
talked about
stripes.
this car, but give our viewers a little bit more info than, first of all, start with the manufacturer.
I'm sorry, this is the Alpine. I forgot. This is the Alpine, the Alpine 110, which is not available in the U.S., which we talked about on two shows ago. That some of these have been spotted in the U.S. This is a fantastic French sports car that is in its second reincarnation, and it's a little two-door coupe, probably the lightest two-door car available on the market right now. I think it's right about the same as a Miata, maybe a tad bit, but heavier, but incredibly well-driving car. It's everybody. Gordon Murray owns one of these. So when I saw this with the French stripes on it, I just thought that was so cool.
That is an awesome car. By the way, if you live in France, why wouldn't you get one of these? You're supporting your home economy. You're supporting Renault, and it's totally cool.
Hey, that's why I drive a Mustang in America, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I just think I love this car. I think it's beautiful. I've seen one myself in person. I love the French racing stripes, the flag. I love that. But why would you drive a German car if you live in France and you can buy one of these Alpines? Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
And then another car spotting I had. We'll go through these pretty quick. I saw an
Oh my
old
gosh.
an old Blazer, and it looked gigantic over there. And then here's you can tell more about this car. This is an M3 Schnitzer. I'm not even sure what that means, but
It's
this
a
is
tuner.
a tuner. Okay, and this is pretty valuable car sitting out on the street. Isn't this the original M3?
That's the original E30 M3 from the late 1980s.
It looked very cool. This has got the blown out fenders on it. I really enjoyed that. And then, of course, I saw a De Chevaux, and this one actually had a for sale sign. It didn't say how much. This is painted in a gorgeous French blue with tan fenders and tan steelies. Really love this car.
That's a beautiful car.
A beautiful car.
You
Yep.
can you tell what era it's from? I assume from the bumpers you can tell maybe, but they made this car continuously from like the early 50s through like the 2000s,
This
or
is
at
an
least
early
the
60s
90s.
car. Yeah, this is an early 60s car, but tell by the headlights and you're right, the bumper. That's an early 60s car. Then we went into Monaco, and Monaco, the cars were just, it was like there were just too many different cars to see. Ferraris, Porsches, Maybach, Rolls Royce, everything. But the one that there is some tackiness
Oh
in
yeah.
Monaco, and here, listeners, is a G wagon, totally jacked up with like Fox springs and a matte black paint job, and these dudes just like have to jump out of the car, and I'm like, so they're these are clearly some European rednecks with way too much money driving a G wagon. But Steve, you drove in Germany, and I'm going to talk a little bit about safety here. We rode in Italy, and we drove all throughout France, and we drove, put a lot of miles on the rental car. And what was amazing to me was there are so few traffic lights in Italy and France. They're basically there's no traffic lights. Everything is a roundabout or a limited access. So they have one-way roads in and out of town, and they organize it so there's no traffic lights, and a lot of traffic calming. The road would narrow down. Just they'd put an island or a really wide sidewalk, take it from 2 lanes down to 1 lane, and traffic flowed smoothly. I did not see a single fender bender, rear ender while I was over there. I did not see anybody texting on their phone or talking on their phone in their vehicles.
Amen.
Motorcycles were lane splitting all the time. People gave them leeway. Nobody pulled out. There were no left lane hogs on the mountain passes. If somebody was slow ahead of you, the first little turnout they could do, they turn out, let traffic go by. Trucks did that. I did that because I was not hauling ass. So, the traffic flows so much better over there. Everybody followed the speed limit. And I need to look this up. I'm gonna stop this share. I want to give credit to the guy who coined the word roadways. Oh God, let me see if I can find him. All right. But there's a journalist who coined the word that our problem in America is we have roadways. We have freeways and highways that have been combined together, and in our cities and towns, these are your 5 lane, 6 lane roads running right in the middle of the town with a traffic light every 100 yards. Those are
Right.
roadways. They're bad for pedestrians. They're bad for motorcyclists. They're bad for cyclists. And, looking at the way traffic flows over there, you can see why they have so few wrecks. You're constantly in a roundabout, in a one-way road. The road narrows, it widens, but I never came across a single 5 lane road over there ever, anywhere, except for, maybe the interstates would have 2, 4, 6 lanes, but none of these roadways in America. And clearly, our death rate on our roadways is so much higher than Europe, and clearly is a combination of driving as well as infrastructure. And we just got the infrastructure way wrong in this country. What do you think? I mean, you are there, Steve-O. Tell us about your driving experience.
Oh, it was wonderful. Roundabouts everywhere. You're told by signs and by the road structure to really slow down in towns.
But you do not
Huge,
speed in town. The
right?
limit
There's
says
huge,
30. You go 30.
yeah, and there's huge respect. Everyone is very aware of cyclists. Crosswalks. It is wonderful. I felt very safe over there. And like you said earlier, no distracted driving. No one's on their phones. No one's looking at their phones. No one's texting.
Right. Exactly. Noticed. And I think, the constant roundabouts and the one-way roads and the constant, what they call traffic calming, speed humps, speed tables, narrow roadways on purpose. You can't take your phone out and look at it. You're going to crash if you do. They
Yeah.
keep you have to be at constant attention driving on the road. Speed limits change all the time. I mean, they go 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour. And yep, you don't speed. They've got traffic cameras everywhere. And, their statistics show that it works. We've just got it completely wrong in this country.
I would like to see roundabouts replace
Absolutely.
traffic lights. It would be so much better. It's so much more logical. And if there's light traffic, you're going faster and it's nice and it's easy. And if there's a lot of traffic, then you really are slowing down, but you're not stopping. You're just slowing down and being more careful. It's a wonderful way to do things. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. A lot of these, if we benchmarked, we would bring a lot of the safety from Asia and Europe over here, and we'd be better off for it, number one. Number two, why do the cars have to be different all around the world? I think cars in America and cars, North America and cars in Europe and Scandinavia and Asia, especially, and, let's just say Japan and Korea, all those cars are safe. They all have airbags. They all have safety. We should make them all the same. The rules are, it's stupid to have different safety and even emissions controls for different countries. We should make it uniform everywhere so the manufacturers would save a lot of money. And let's face it, a brand new car in Europe, just like a brand new car here, is not a polluter, and it's not a polluter in Japan. And they're all safe. Make it the same.
Well, that means we'd have to get rid of our light truck and van regs, which are the big loophole for American manufacturers for gas mileage and emissions and
No, I'm talking about the same car.
Yeah,
You,
right.
a
Absolutely.
manufacturer, we were talking about 911s. There's a lot of difference between a 911 in Europe and Japan and here. It should be the same car.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with that. Same standard. It would cut the cost down on vehicles.
Yeah.
And actually, it cut costs because when you got one manufacturer who makes the LiDAR or the radar or the TFT panel,
Right.
whatever, it's the same around the world. It'd bring costs down overall.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now,
And we're
listen,
really talking minimum standards too, is what we're really talking.
correct. And do I think that we need to adopt anything from Nigeria? No. But a car in Sweden is as safe as it is here. They should have the same damn regulations for the same car.
Yep. I
Yeah.
agree.
All right, we got to talk Monaco. You were in Monaco. I was there for the Grand Prix. It was an amazing experience. Before we talk about the race, let me just say this. I've always wanted to go, but I never really thought I would go because it's such a headache. It's a tiny principality. It's around the size of Central Park. It is wall to wall people. Everyone is there during the race. It's like celebrities, VIPs. There's yachts. There's people crowding the balconies. I just thought it's amazing. If I could beam in like Star Trek, then yeah, it'd be fantastic. But otherwise, who wants the aggravation? Well, thanks to Autobahn Adventures, everything was taken care of, and we actually were staying on this cruise ship. But we had this balcony, and it was a very nice, actually, apartment overlooking turn two, just before it goes uphill. We were looking down on the cars. You can hear them. We were on the fourth floor. You can hear them. You can smell them. Particularly there, you smelt a lot of brake pad smell. They were right there, and
That picture is amazing. Yeah,
it's a little weird because
you were in the catbird seat. I'm so jealous.
it's
'Cause
a
I was
little
in-
weird because there's nothing preventing somebody from just throwing a plate down on the cars. I mean, every other racetrack, you can't throw anything on. I mean, you can if I wanted to throw a wine glass down or a wine bottle, I could have done it. That was a
That's
little
because you're an
weird.
American. No European, the thought would even cross their mind.
Yeah, it didn't cross my mind as in I would do it, of course, but it's weird that if I wanted to,
Yeah.
there's nothing to stop me. And the people watching, just walking through Monaco, we had to walk about 15 minutes from where we were forced to park our bus on the outskirts, and we walked through and just people watching. There's all of a sudden you hear a sound behind you, and there's a gendarme who's whistling and letting a VIP come through in a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or a Mercedes. And otherwise, it's just pedestrians only, except for these VIPs who knows who they were, but they're all important. This is the place to be. Everybody's dressed up. Everybody's drinking champagne. The food was great. The company was great. It's a different feel, Stefan. People are dressed up. They take this like this is a big deal.
Well, it's a big deal. I was in Monaco Monday before the race, and I got to walk. I walked the harbor sections. I went into the tunnel, and of course, I was just having just memories flooding of watching it on TV. And then when I did watch the race, which is a boring as hell race, it was still cool to be able to see where they were. And then I knew where you were, so when I watched the race, I actually saw your hotel, the apartments where you're at. I saw that um, on the race. But yeah, I'm just dying to go to Formula One race.
There was somebody on this group who said something that really resonated with me. He said This is like going to the Masters golf tournament or watching it on TV. He said you don't get a feel for the undulation and the terrain and the change in altitude. It's not altitude, but whatever, up and down. You don't get a feel for that unless you're actually there. TV does not give you the same feel. That's true for the Grand Prix. You do not get a sense of speed from TV, and you don't get a sense of the noise, which is beautiful, or the smells. It's not, you miss that if you watch it on TV.
Well, like when I took you to the NASCAR race with Jack Roush. I mean, to be there in the pits when the cars come in, yet you're smelling them, the gas, the fuel, the brakes. Oh, you're hearing it. Yeah, it's a visceral, emotional experience, and TV is just detached. But I will get
Yeah.
to one race. I'm hoping to go to. I want to go to COTA, Circuit of the Americas in Austin. I've got two nieces that live there, and that's probably going to be the Formula One track that'll be attainable for me to go to.
Yeah, I heard code is great. Thank you, Autobahn Adventures, for a wonderful way to see this because honestly, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have gone. And they made it easy and fun. Just a great experience. I'm so glad I did it. There's something called for F1 experiences, and they were all over in Monaco. And I think if you want to go to COTA, maybe look at F1 experiences. Listeners, if you want to go, I know that they do the whole soup to nuts thing too. But let's talk about the race, Stefan. Let me start by saying this. The 2024 Monaco Grand Prix was the first Grand Prix in history where there were no changes in the first top 10 places throughout the race.
It was so boring. I mean, for Monaco, qualifying is exciting because it's one car on the track, and then because it's so near it's an old. I mean, they've been racing in Monaco since, golly,
1929.
1929, and of course the cars were a lot narrower there then. They did not have all the barriers that they have now for safety. So by the time you think about it, you're driving through a city that's a very old city, but it's been modernized. But the roads weren't designed for the new Formula One cars. And I actually went to the Prince Rainier car collection at Monaco. I don't know if you got to do that when you were there. I went to the car collection. I do have a couple of pictures from there. But the F1 cars that he's got several F1 cars in his collection, and to see the progression from the early pre-war to today, to see how wide and big the cars are. I mean, they're just too big for Monaco. I mean, it's just they can't fit them too wide, or if they try, you get the giant crash like at the beginning of the race. Yeah, the only person who passed the entire race was Lance Stroll. I think Lance Stroll made 2 passes, gained 2 positions. The only driver to pass during the race.
It was like from 12th to 10th or something like that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they need, everybody says the drivers, I mean, this is one of the crown jewels of Formula One to win Monaco, but it's become an incredibly boring race. And except for a crash, it's just a train because they can't pass. So I don't know what the cars are just too big. I don't think they can make the track any wider because of safety issues. It takes them already 6 weeks to set up the city apparently for the race, putting up the Armco and the fences and the tires. It's a tremendous undertaking, but something needs to be done. But I don't think they could ever pull it off the schedule. That'd be like saying there's no more Indy 500. They can't
you
pull
can't
Monaco.
do it. Absolutely iconic race. It's a spectacle. The way I described it when I was there was a lousy race, but a great spectacle. And here's what I would do, and here's my suggestion. And tell me if you think this is crazy. Just have different cars for this race. Basically, have go-karts, and say, this is going to be maybe the points count only 20% or something like that, but have smaller cars.
Make it a spec race.
A spec race would be wonderful.
I like IROC.
They have there's a Porsche 911 support race, and there was passing there. 911 I think is too big, but like a Miata spec or like a Formula Ford type thing, or go-karts. How about that?
Yeah, Ariel Adams, anything of that size. It's got to be about the size of Miata for it to be an interesting race. And yeah, just make it a one-off spec race. 24 cars, all prepared exactly the same. And then you draw it and you can change your suspension settings, but you can't touch the engine or the
Yeah.
tuning, and let people change the suspension and then make it a one make it a spec race. It'd probably be cheaper than actually taking all the F1 cars there. But you're right, it's otherwise it's just I didn't even watch. I clicked it on fast forward and I watched the race in about 10 minutes, or just watch it on YouTube. But
So
the
every
pre-race hype is fun, and the post-race, Leclerc won. Give credit to Leclerc. He finally broke his bad luck streak at Monaco. It was a big win for Monaco, and
he was born there,
yep,
which is nice.
he's Monegasque.
Charles Leclerc, and he won for Ferrari. It was a very popular win, extremely popular because he's embraced by his hometown. It's a hell of a place to be born, by the way.
Yeah,
But, if you think about it, you've got the NBA and the NHL and Major League Baseball have their All-Star game. This could be something like that. And in order for the players to really and the teams to really care, there have to be some points. It should not be full points, of course, but maybe 30% points, 20% points, or something where you get, benefits as a manufacturer and as a driver, and then have them, I was thinking everyone shows up with their own little car, but a spec race, I think, is a better idea. And either open wheel or closed wheel. I mean, why not? Maybe, how about this? They all show up, they all drive Alpines that are prepared the same. But a car around that size, Miata size, more power, of course, and then just let them run.
I mean, because they're taught. I think the 26 regs for the new car, it's going to be a little bit smaller. Everybody's complained that the car's too big. The guys can't see their front wings anymore because the car's too big and the aerodynamics. So they really need to make the car smaller. But then, they're bigger part of safety as well. The crash cell is bigger in the car to protect the driver. So it's that trade-off of safety versus excitement for the crowd and good racing. But yeah,
By the way, this generation of Formula One car, I think, is pretty good. Yeah, it's big, but they made the wheels a lot bigger, so it doesn't look as big as it used to look, just stupid. Now it actually looks pretty good. So I think the cars look decent. I agree that they're too big. However, here's the reality. Because of the new aerodynamics in this era, every other race except for Monaco, there's passing.
yes, we've had good passing this year. Some new winners this year as other teams are catching up with the Red Bull. It's a much better year for Formula One than the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think the rules changes and this new car, I have no problem with. And if you look at some of the crashes, including one, Sergio Perez was hit by Kevin Magnussen. It was basically an assault,
Totally
but
boneheaded move by K Mag.
completely stupid,
Stupid.
and caused a huge crash. By the way, they're going up the hill. This is a straightaway. They are going very, very fast. I've seen a couple videos from different angles that show how hard they hit each other and how hard they hit the wall. Debris was flying through the fence. This was a very, very vicious crash, and everyone walked away. A lot of damage to the cars. I have no problem with that. These new cars, Stefan, are safe.
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
they
Well,
are.
we've solved the Monaco problem, and
Yeah.
having said that, something, who cares? I didn't care that no one passed. It was so great to be there, listen to the engines, lap after lap, see the cars are beautiful with the paint jobs, the livery. Stefan, these are beautiful cars.
They're beautiful. And I don't know if you were able to get up close. I got up close to a car in the museum. The number of little aerodynamic
Mm.
veins and wings and slots is absolutely insane on these cars. And let me see if I can't pull one up here. I took a picture of a car at Monaco because I wanted to show this. Let's see where if I can. Hopefully, I can find it here. But one of the cars in the Prince Rainier Museum, and I just could not believe the detail on the backside of this car. Here it is. Let me share this screen. Let me can't escape there. Let me do this. This is on the backside This is the back
Wow.
side of the car. Looking at this is on your left, listeners, if you're doing that. So I've got a picture of the left rear tire, and
This
this
is
is
the
the rear
Ferrari.
diffuser. This is the Ferrari, and this is the wing on the back. And look at all the little slots and wings everywhere on the car. It was insane. This all over the car. Everywhere you look, there's this little aerodynamic tricks. They're all trying to increase the downforce, decrease drag. And it was insane to look at this car up close. It was just really cool. I did
I
see
think
a
we
cut.
have I think we have left the era of Formula One and any kind of racing being the purview of engineers and engineering, and we are now in it being, and I know they call them all engineers, but this is now all software.
This is engineering software beating the wind. Yep, absolutely, I agree. I mean, nobody's going to sit down a piece of paper and design all those little winglets.
It's
But
it's software, and I think we're about to enter the era where this is all going to be 3D printed. And of course, that's all software too. But I think that's really, I think we're partly there already. But I think we're going to enter the era where these Formula One cars, they're just printed. Every single part is printed.
they talk about Adrian Newey leaving Red Bull. Where's he going to go? And Adrian Newey's older than us, and those little winglets were not designed by Adrian Newey, but he clearly
No,
has an understanding of how the air moves over the car. But these are computer generated cars to put all these little winglets. But I want to change the subject here, go back to the car collection that I saw. And I just want to pull up the simplicity of some design. Here's a 63 Ferrari 250 GT Pininfarina, just a gorgeous two-door coupe. And then here,
convertible.
convertible. I'm sorry, convertible. Absolutely gorgeous. Then here's one of my other favorite cars in the collection. This is a Renault 5 Turbo Group B rally car. And Steve-O, these around Monaco, the drivers, let them drive these around the track. They'd be small enough. That would be a complete hoot. But here is my favorite thing I saw at the museum. This is the homage
Wow.
that Ayrton Senna, his helmet, when he won, and then a little statue of him, a bust of him. And that was just for me. It was, I'm a huge Ayrton Senna fan. And,
He won 6 Monaco Grand Prix. Should have been 7.
7.
Should have been 8. There was one where he had it won, and he was trying to get too much time on Prost to humiliate Prost, and he crashed. He should have won that race. He would have easily won it. And then there was another one. You remember the famous one, 83 or 84 in the rain.
And Prost ran
And
off whining.
yeah, and then Jackie Ickx, who was the director of the race, red flagged it just as Senna was coming up behind Prost and was going to beat him. He was gaining something like 2 seconds a lap
Yeah, that was
in a Tolman.
yeah, in a Tolman. That's so listeners, do yourself a favor, go to YouTube and type in Senna and Monaco. And there's one where it's a cockpit shot of him driving the track. And it's insanity to watch him. The car is just twitching at 9.9% of its ability. And it's fabulous to watch. And the sound, and it's the V10 era, it's a wonderful clip to watch. So that was my big trip in Monaco. And I was very jealous walking around knowing you were going to be there. But I still got to see the track, the corners, and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
All right, before we sign off, I told Brett Williams that I would tell the story because it's a cool story. What are the odds? There's 16 couples, and 3 of the guys are fighter pilots, retired fighter pilots. So
And not a single trauma surgeon.
there was not a single trauma surgeon. There was an orthopedic surgeon, and there were 2 retired dentists. But otherwise, everyone was in business. And so 2 F-16 pilots retired, and Brett, and they all got together at the bar, of course, and decided,
and
hey, we got
named you. They gave you a call sign.
They said, we got Steve-O here. He used to be in the Air Force. Let's give him a call sign. And I got to see the whole process. I'm not allowed to divulge it, but it was extremely interesting. And
a little bit It can be degrading.
Oh,
it can be a little bit humiliating.
That's part of the whole process.
Yeah.
So I was named Skid Skid Schutz.
Skid.
And it was, I think you've been through it, and they go, it's interesting how they come up with a list, and then how they come up with a list, and how they start knocking names off the list, and then how they come up with it. I thought it was very interesting. Not knowing anything, when Brett told me his call sign is ET. When he told me they were gonna do this, I said I like the name Dieter because I have a German last name. It kind of goes. And then I get in, we're doing the whole thing, and Dieter is on the list, and it was just immediately crossed off because they said,
Well, of
"Well, if
course.
it's your idea, then it's automatically off." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
if you come up with a call sign, it's automatically off."
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway,
So
I
you,
appreciate
so you must
uh,
have locked up. You must have locked up the car somewhere
locked
to
up
call
what
you
car.
Skid. You must have locked up the wheels on the Porsche to be called Skid.
Well, I'm not allowed to divulge I'm really not. It's
I think you
as
clearly
you know.
flat spotted some tires. Clearly.
So
Yeah, clearly.
so
Yeah,
um
Skid. I love it.
the other call signs are former F-15 pilot Brett Williams is ET, F-16 pilot first name is Bob. He goes by Bobaloo. And then there's a guy named Doug Myers, who flies for United now. And they were great guys, both of them.
What
Really,
was Doug's
really
call sign?
Oscar.
Oscar. Okay.
So
Mine's
so
Silverback.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're in this area, you get a call sign. And Bobaloo in particular they were both great guys and very interesting. Bobaloo is like the wine expert of all wine experts I've ever talked with. So he got me kind of sparked. I want to start a wine collection because of Bobaloo. So there's my little story about Skid. I told ET I would tell the story.
Excellent. All right. So
And there we go. So we can wrap it up. We're almost out of time. By the way, sorry Adams can't be here. Last week you weren't there, or last time, it was 2 weeks ago, you weren't there. But we miss Adams.
yeah, we miss him, and I think he's off to the mountains for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he
You know.
said 3 weeks. What the hell is he going to do in the mountains for 3 weeks? But
I got you. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean, you go to the mountains for 3 weeks. You should come back and say, yeah, I went to the top of Mount Everest, right? I mean, isn't that what 3 weeks? Come on. All right, close us out.
All right, dude. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Remember
Close
to
us out, Silverback.
subscribe. Yeah. All right, Skid. Here we go. Remember to we're gonna have to get Adams a call sign. We'll figure one out. All right. So remember to like, subscribe, hit the little bell there, and then we'll be at you somewhere probably in 2 weeks. If not, I'm also gonna have a little series on Cobra. I'm behind on that, but I'm gonna do one on the AC Shelby Cobra, and that'll just be me and a couple other guests. So remember, if you subscribe, you'll get an automatic notification when we do have a new podcast come out. All right, take care, Steve.